Welcome back to Quietly Secure. So far this season, we've explored the systems shaping modern digital life, the background infrastructure behind websites and apps, the economics sustaining online platforms, algorithms influencing attention, data breaches, identity systems, large interconnected networks quietly operating behind the scenes. But there's another misconception about the internet that still exists for many people. The idea that the internet is somehow abstract, weightless, invisible, exists somewhere in the cloud. But the internet is not floating in the air. It exists in very real physical places. Buildings filled with servers, fibre optic cables running under oceans, massive facilities consuming enormous amounts of electricity every second. And today we're going to explore where the internet actually lives. When people hear the phrase cloud computing, it often sounds vague and intangible, as though information simply exists everywhere all at once. But in reality, every photo upload, every video streamed, every message sent, and every website visited ultimately runs on a physical machine somewhere in the world. Servers. A server is simply a computer designed to provide services continuously over a network. Some store files, some host websites, some process video streams, some manage databases, some run artificial intelligence systems. And modern online life depends on enormous numbers of these machines operating constantly. The internet may feel wireless and invisible from a phone screen, but underneath that experience sits a vast amount of physical infrastructure. Most large online services operate from facilities known as data centers. These are specialized buildings designed to house thousands, and sometimes hundreds of thousands, of servers. Inside them are rows of machines running continuously, cooling systems, backup power systems, fire suppression systems, and redundant network connections. Because modern internet services are expected to remain available all the time, 24 hours a day, across multiple countries, for millions, sometimes billions, of users simultaneously. Even brief outages can affect huge parts of the world now, and because reliability matters so much, these facilities are engineered with extraordinary levels of redundancy. If one power system fails, another activates. If one network route breaks, traffic reroutes automatically. Much of the internet is designed around the assumption that failures will eventually happen, so systems are built to survive them. Years ago, companies often operated their own physical servers directly. A business might own hardware in a specific office or facility, but over time, cloud computing changed the structure of the internet dramatically. Instead of building their own infrastructure, companies increasingly began renting computer resources from massive cloud providers. Storage, processing power, databases, networking, all provided on demand. This allows startups and online services to scale rapidly without building enormous physical infrastructure themselves. A small team could suddenly launch services capable of reaching global audiences, and this transformation reshaped the modern internet. Today, huge portions of online services depend on a relatively small number of major infrastructure providers operating at enormous scale. At first glance, it may seem strange that so much of the internet depends on a relatively small number of companies. But centralisation happened largely for practical reasons. Running secure, reliable infrastructure at global scale is extremely difficult and extremely expensive. Large providers can often do it more effectively than smaller organisations operating independently. They can build massive data centres, negotiate better network capacity, employ large security teams, and operate global distribution systems. And for many companies, using existing infrastructure became far more realistic than building everything themselves. This created enormous convenience and reliability, but it also created concentration, meaning that failures affecting major providers can sometimes ripple across large parts of the internet simultaneously. One of the reasons the internet usually feels stable is because most infrastructure problems are solved before users ever notice them. Servers fail constantly, hard drives break, power systems malfunction, network equipment fails, but redundancy allows services to continue operating anyway. Modern infrastructure is designed around resilience rather than perfection, and in many ways, that resilience is one of the greatest engineering achievements of the modern world. Because every day, billions of people rely on systems that must function continuously across continents and time zones. Most users never think about the infrastructure because successful infrastructure becomes invisible. The smoother the experience feels, the less people notice the complexity underneath it. One of the most surprising things about modern digital life is how dependent society has become on these hidden systems. Banking, communication, navigation, healthcare, entertainment, commerce, and government services. Much of the modern civilization now relies on network infrastructure functioning reliably every second. And yet most of these systems remain largely unseen by the people using them. The internet people experience directly is only the surface layer. Underneath it sits another internet entirely. Cables, routers, servers, data centers, cloud platforms, power systems, a physical world quietly supporting the digital one. At the beginning of this episode, we asked where the internet actually lives, and the answer is that the internet is far more physical than most people imagine. It lives in data centers, in fibre optic cables, in server racks operating continuously around the world. And increasingly, much of the modern online life depends on a relatively small number of massive infrastructure providers quietly supporting enormous portions of the digital ecosystem. Most of the time, these systems remain invisible. But once you begin noticing the physical infrastructure beneath the internet, the modern world starts to look a little different. Not just connected, but deeply dependent on systems that most people never see. Next time, we'll explore one of the least visible parts of the modern internet economy, the hidden data ecosystem. Data brokers, background collection systems, aggregated profiles, and why so much information moves through systems most people never interact with directly. Thanks for listening, and in all this, stay calm and stay quietly secure.